Well, it's very difficult to make predictions, especially about the future, as they say. I suspect that anything I'm going to say about the next 20 years is going to turn out to reflect my perspective in 2014 and will look a bit foolish from 2034. But I'm really interested in continuing to explore things like the panpsychist and the Russellian ways of thinking about consciousness. But I also think it's worth paying attention to other non-reductive approaches to consciousness, ones where consciousness might, for example, play a role, a causal role in the physical world via something like wave function collapse and quantum mechanics. That's an idea I've been thinking about lately. Hasn't really, although it gets talked about, it hasn't really achieved the attention it deserves. And I think that kind of dualism is also worth the kind of attention that panpsychism has been getting. On the materialist side in philosophy, I'd like to see renewed attention to some of the ideas that Dan Dennett was once got some sympathy with. The idea that we ought to try and explain away consciousness by explaining the things that we say about consciousness. People say, I'm conscious. Consciousness is mysterious. I'm terribly puzzled by it. That's a fact of behavior. You might think that fact of human behavior ought to be open to functional behavioral explanation. I don't think we yet have that explanation, but it ought to be a tractable research project. Once we have that explanation, I'd be surprised if it didn't tell us something very interesting about consciousness itself. Meantime, on the science, things I think are just going to keep mushrooming at their own pace, expanding to more sensory modalities as artificial intelligence gets developed. There's going to be any number of questions coming up about the computational nature of consciousness, and I just expect a continuing flowering on the empirical side.